From Lalate News headquarters in Santa Monica, this is Mornings Lalate.
It's a big morning of Mornings Lalate, live from Santa Monica, California, with incredible great details about your fourth stimulus check update of 2021. In this recording, another major win for your recon, as the president tells the congressional leaders no vote on the roads and bridges at all, ever, until you agree upon the recon. All the latest breaking news you're hearing for the first time on Mornings Lalate, as your $3.5 trillion recon passes in that House Budget Subcommittee. Incredible details in this recording. We'll go over cluster number one, passed. Checks for seniors, workers, and everyone across the board. Cluster number two's checks passed, including vehicles and college grants. Cluster number three's checks passed, including checks for the home. We'll go over all the dramatics that unfolded on Thursday and Friday, as once, twice, three times the progressives were able to block the roads and bridges, and now the president says the roads and bridges ain't going anywhere. We're doing the recon. You're agreeing upon the recon, and we're not calling the vote ever on the roads and bridges. OMG. I have all the incredible great news as the Democratic leaders also reassure the viewers of this channel this week they're including a monthly IRS stimulus check. Wow. Recon number one, roads and bridges not going, and insertion of that monthly stimulus check. It's a beautiful morning. I have all the breaking news about what unfolded Thursday, Friday, and we're now hearing it to this morning because this is Mornings Lalate. Weekend. Thank you for joining me across the board. Hope the weather is good where you are. Thank you for joining me. The President of the United States making very clear in a message to Democratic senators and House members. Breaking news this morning. No vote ever on the roads and bridges ever happening until you agree to the progressives and the recon. OMG, this is a major win for this channel because I had told you all last week, we don't care if the roads and bridges pass, but if they goes down in flames, it's a huge win for the recon. Well, it did go down in flames. The recon not passing on Thursday, not passing on Friday, and not passing ever, says the president, until you agree upon the recon. Breaking news you're going to hear for the first time on Mornings Lalate today. Then we'll go over cluster number one's checks pass, cluster number two's checks pass, and three pass as well. Huge checks for all viewers of this channel. The $3.5 trillion recon. Then we go to the exciting details as additional cash infusion for third stimulus going out. We'll be going over shortly over fifth stimulus. We'll be going over the dramatics of that meeting and my impression about what the president has to do next. And then we go over the big exciting details as more Democratic leaders tell viewers of this channel this week, including Chuck Schumer's office, they're inserting a monthly IRS stimulus check. And this is Lalate, America's only 24-hour-a-day, 7 days a week financial news channel in America. So subscribe. 400,000 subscribers, a YouTube record. I want you part of this incredible family. A week ago today, the House Budget Subcommittee for Budgeting passed your $3.5 trillion recon. I immediately delivered the details of the breaking news and all the checks in there. Broadcast media never even covered it. Print media never even covered it. YouTube channels other than this one never even covered it. All throughout this week, the dramatics of the recon versus roads and bridges was a changing news story on the hour by the hour. Even today it is as well. Next week, even more so. But there was no other place that had all the dramatics by the hour and every update that happened except here. So I want you to subscribe, like the video, and consider becoming a member. Today, new shows with Afternoons Lalate at 3 o'clock and Evenings Lalate at 5 o'clock. Let's get to the incredible dramatics starting right now. We're going to go over first your recon pass. We'll go over cluster number one, cluster number two, and cluster number three's checks. Then we'll be cutting to those IRS monthly stimulus checks that the Democratic leaders told this week, and on top of the 1,000+ viewers they told weeks before, that they're still inserting it in there. Then we'll go to the dramatics that unfolded in that meeting for the president with the House and Senate Democrats. You're hearing that for the first time on this channel right now. Then we'll be going over what's happening this weekend and what's happening next week. third stimulus, and a little bit about fifth stimulus if we have time. And with that, let's start with the recon. Passed a week ago today, in the middle of the night, a $3.5 trillion recon passed by the House Budget Subcommittee. This is a recon that pays everyone, including SSI, SSDI, seniors, workers, single people across the board. Checks in different clusters, and I'll go over cluster number 1, 2, and 3, and then those IRS monthly stimulus checks thereafter. What's important to understand is that the recon is for everything. It is not COVID related. Cluster number 1's checks, let's go over them right now. Passed. Hazard pay, checks for seniors, checks for children, $51,000 of monthly stimulus checks, home repair checks, and college grant checks, plus bikes, cars, and new trucks. Let's get to it with hazard pay. Passed. They got a provision in there, the expansion of the earned income tax credit in the old tax code, expanded so more essential workers qualify for it, and broadening the amount of money lifetime. A huge achievement for this channel, which was the single biggest place on the planet to advocate for hazard pay in no less than 300 videos every day, every week since early 2020. Then, up to $4,000 a year to care for an elderly person at home. Then up to $4,000 a year to care for a young child at home. Great news. Then college grants to the university, to the student directly, and making the Pell Grant tax-free. Repairs for the home. Yes, they're going to give you free money to make repairs to the home if you're in a low-income community. Then they got money in there of $51,000 of monthly stimulus checks. This is the CTC, the child tax credit, changed and broadened. Lifetime, broadening the eligibility so non-biological parents still qualify for it. How much does it pay? A lot. Up to $300 a month, every year for up to 18 years that the household is in a low-income community and family. And that's $51,000 per child. Then they got money in there for bikes, cars, and trucks, all electric, all U.S. auto manufacturer. 15% for the new purchase of an electric bike, $7,500 for the purchase of a new electric vehicle, personal use, and then a little bit more for a vehicle for business use or a truck for business use. Wow. In a second from now, we're going to go over cluster number 2's checks passed, 3's checks passed, and those IRS monthly stimulus checks. And then we'll be cutting over to the dramatics of the president. But first, let's take a detour for just a second to third stimulus. Treasury sent out an additional $13 billion from third stimulus out to your cities, counties, and states, and this is huge. This is the money you needed, and this money is landing. Treasury made the statement, and this is the cash infusion that millions of Americans were in need. Treasury says that it's happy to provide state and local governments with additional sources of rental assistance in time of need. I'm going to show you how to get this big money later in this video. Stay the final 15 minutes of this video. There's a lot of breaking news. And now it's time for some more checks. Cluster number 2's checks passed. Cluster number 2 is no less than 12 checks, and they're deliciousness because they pay a lot. Paid family leave, paid medical leave. How much? Up to $1,700 a week under third stimulus. If you make $70,000 or more per year, split in half. $800 a week if you make $35,000 or more per year. $15,000 annual salary, $400 a week. Paid family leave if you have to stay home because your wife's pregnant. Medical leave, you have to stay home because your son broke his leg. There's no less than 12 other checks in this second cluster that are incredible. Childcare programs checks, household tax credit checks, then weatherizing your home checks. Yes, the second check's for your home. This is to weatherize your home, especially needed if the moderate Democrats are on the roof. Remember, keep the moderate Democrats out of the house. Literally and figuratively. Then they got checks for seniors like dental, vision, hearing share checks, and then checks for pre-community college, for pre-kindergarten, and then checks for tuition-free community college. Definitely needed because so many people are desiring to take that class called What the World's Lalate Saying 101. Now you'll be bilingual in that foreign language called Los Angeles. You'll finally understand what the world I'm talking about. Well, in a second, we can go over the third cluster of checks. But what is Congress doing? What is Congress not doing? Well, on Friday, the president signaled the House and Senate Democrats to meet with him. And what did he say? Number one, no vote on the roads and bridges today or at any time until the moderate Democrats agree upon the recon. What a win. We said this week, a win would be for the roads and bridges not to pass. Well, that certainly That certainly was a win. But I had already told you that it doesn't matter if the roads and bridges passes this week. But I said if the progressives block it, that's a win. Well, they blocked it for a vote on Thursday. They blocked it for a vote on Friday. And then Friday, the president says, I don't care what agreement the moderate Democrats made to call the vote on Thursday with Pelosi. It ain't happening. It ain't happening now. It ain't happening next week. It's never happening until the moderate Democrats agree upon the recon. Wow, that's a major win. Number two, he said that the moderate Democrats have to come on board with the recon, and that I made an agreement with everyone, and I'm keeping my agreement. Two bodies of legislation on my table at the same time. You must pass two, not one. Wow, cracking the whip. I love it. I'll have more about these incredible dramatics of what was said in that meeting and what should have been said but wasn't said. My opinion of the situation as well. It's coming up later in this video. But time for some more checks. Let's cut to them right now. That third cluster of checks has incredible monies in there. These are the president's checks, free school meals for all checks, cheaper prescription medication checks, checks for clean energy, checks for farmers, checks for free internet, checks for seniors, like lowering eligibility age for Medicare, checks for dental, checks for vision, checks for hearing care, and checks for workers like independent contractors. Two of the checks in the third cluster are nearly automatic, and that's why the president likes them. That's why I like them. Number one, cheaper prescription medication. You know what? You may have woken up today with a migraine because of the moderate Democrats. So you go to the pharmacist and you say, pharmacist, I have a migraine. Oh, you heard the moderate Democrats yesterday. A lot of people have been calling in for a prescription for that. No, I need a prescription for that, sir. The pharmacist has all these jokes. And so you may have to take out two $20 bills to get that prescription. Then after this becomes law, you may still have a migraine because the moderate Democrats. So when you go back to refill the prescription, you may only have to take out one $20 bill. Then they're going to make free internet available across the board, red, blue states, everywhere. So all you have to do is say, what's the username and password to get that Wi-Fi connection? Totally free internet in your city, county, state. The Wi-Fi username is Goth Gang Go Away, and the password is DC Reese. And we'll love that. So that's coming up more later. But first, let's take a preview of what's coming up later in this video. We'll be going over everything that the president said during that meeting on Friday. You're going to be shocked. You're going to be really shocked how he literally protected your recon beautifully. But I'm also going to give you my impression and what some analysts are saying today about what he should also have done and what he's likely to do by the end of this weekend, if not next week, because he has to do something else. I'll explain those details. It's all new at mornings. But first, let's turn to that monthly IRS stimulus check. The great news is that going into last weekend, 1,000 viewers of this channel have been told by Senate and House Democrats the inclusion of a monthly stimulus check is happening. After the passage of the $3.5 trillion recon last weekend, the same Democrats reassured viewers of the same position. Bernie Sanders telling viewers this channel this week that he's still inserting that monthly IRS stimulus check provision. Then the offices of Jalapal, Omar, and AOC confirming the same as well. And then by Wednesday, Chuck Schumer's office confirming to Donnie's wife that he's inserting that provision as well. Wow. It's important to remember that as soon as the recon passed that House last week today, Pelosi and the president said it's not a bill. It's a work in progress. You want to add stuff in? You can. And that's after Pelosi told viewers this channel going into last weekend, she's adding the provision as well. We'll go over more about that IRS monthly stimulus check and all the dramatics of that presidential meeting on Friday, what's happening today, and what will happen next week. We'll be going with third stimulus briefly and a little bit about fifth stimulus. We got a lot coming up, and it's just getting started as Mornings LA continues. I'll be back with you in 60 seconds. If you want money right now, not 5 days from now, and not 5 weeks from now, then reach out to the community page. The volunteers can help you find that money for rent and utilities. That's at news.la.com/community. The community page features a series of volunteers who are viewers like you. They can help you find rent, utilities, SNAP, food benefits, mortgage assistance, and help you with eviction moratorium questions as well. Their Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram individuals reach out to them and indicate the city and state you're from, and they'll get back to you shortly. That's a community page. volunteers working for you, viewers helping one another. Stay with LA for more. Join Lalate Daily for the excitement of the new Lalate live daily. The excitement starts on Mornings Lalate at 9 a.m. Home Lalate returns at 11 a.m. daily. And then afternoons Lalate at 1 p.m. Join us daily as the excitement continues live from Santa Monica on Lalate. And the excitement continues right now live from Santa Monica as Mornings LA continues. As your $3.5 trillion recon passing. All those incredible clusters in there passing. And the inclusion of the monthly IRS stimulus check happening. So says the Democratic House and Senate members even this week. And then we're going to go over all the dramatics that happened in that House and Senate meeting. We'll be cutting over the third stimulus. Really incredible, great cash infusion coming out to your cities, counties, and states. Have you got to the money? I'm going to show you how to get that. And potentially even a refrigerator. Whoa. Then we'll be cutting to the big, exciting, developing details of this stimulus if time allows. We got so much happening. It's an early morning. It's a morning. On the East Coast, it's an afternoon. So welcome and subscribe. A 400,000 subscribers, a YouTube record. I want you part of this incredible family. The news cycle is changing by the hour, on the hour. So don't miss any video at all because you will not be caught up. I don't want you to miss anything that's happening. Like the video, 2,000-3,000 likes, and consider becoming a member. Purple Hawk, Purple Power Casino VIP. It was just a week ago today on a Saturday night when they passed your $3.5 trillion recon. The Democrats are working this weekend as well, so don't miss a single video across the board. Let's turn to all the dramatics that unfolded late on Friday, and I'm going to go over what was said and what should have been said but wasn't. On Friday, the president called the House and Senate Democrats into separate meetings, but let's understand what happened in the hours leading up to that. The moderate Democrats were unhappy that the roads and bridges did not have a voting date. So about a month ago, they approached Nancy Pelosi and basically ambushed her and said, give us a date for the roads and bridges. She gave them a date this last Thursday. Then, this week, as the tensions grew going into that roads and bridges vote, the moderates protecting the roads and bridges and the progressives protecting the recon, the moderates were doing one thing, but the progressives something very different. What was going on? Well, first, the president brought the moderates into conferences in the White House, saying, what do you think about the recon, moderates? Excuse me, I can't hear you. Excuse me, I can't hear you. And the moderates were not answering the question, only asking when is the vote on the roads and bridges. Meantime, Pelosi got furious publicly at the moderates after breaking an agreement about the debt ceiling limit they had made only 2 weeks ago, publicly chastising them. Elizabeth Warren publicly chastising the moderates for again breaking a promise that the roads and bridges recon would be voted at the same time. After that, the moderate Democrats started to go on the offensive. They published a series of articles trash-talking the progressives, calling them a very small section of the Democratic Party, calling them a fringe group, saying that they weren't following the president's agenda, when in fact the president's agenda is the recon. And then one of the perhaps most shocking developing details was that Joe Manchin released a document to in essence call Chuck Schumer a liar. And Chuck Schumer firing back saying, I never agreed to that document. That's not what the document says. And how dare you say that about me? Going into that final Thursday, this was the battleground. The progressives were keeping it professional, reserved, and quiet, where the moderate Democrats were in the press trash-talking the progressives day in, hourly, very, very badly. At that point, in the hours before the vote, the moderate Democrats published another article, again trash-talking the progressives. And with that, the progressives said, we don't have 60 votes against the roads and bridges. We may now have 100. Pelosi's margin of victory in the House is 3. There are 3 more Democrats than 3 House members, and she can't lose 4, otherwise a bill doesn't pass. She was set to lose 60, but after that moderate Democrat published that article, it was looking like 100 Democrats were going to vote against the roads and bridges. In the minutes before the vote that was supposed to happen at 9 o'clock, the progressives having another meeting saying vote it down. Then, a big surprise that changed the whole dramatics of the week, and I was right, it changed the whole dramatics of the whole situation, was the president called Bernie Sanders, Brian Deasy, and Chuck Schumer and Kristen Sinema to have a meeting in Chuck Schumer's office. Why? To have the progressives suddenly change course and approve the roads and bridges and somehow informally agree upon something about the recon, after the moderate Democrats hadn't kept their promises about 2 other things this week. The meeting lasted about 3 seconds. Bernie Sanders emerging from the meeting, not mentioning the president by name, but slamming the whole system of the meeting, saying, this is absurd. This is not the way I do business. I don't agree upon changes to a $4 trillion legislation at 10:30 at night on a Thursday night in someone's room at the 11th hour. I don't do business that way. Absolutely well said. Jalopal, minutes thereafter, said the same thing in her Democratic caucus. Do not move on the recon unless you have the moderate Democrats verbally and formally by vote agree upon the recon. The vote was to be called at 9 o'clock. It didn't happen. Nancy Pelosi didn't call the vote. Then at 10 o'clock, the vote was supposed to happen. It wasn't called. Finally, Steny Hoyer, the majority leader, Nancy Pelosi's second in arms in the House, said, you can go home. The night is over. And come back on Friday. We will be voting on the roads and bridges on Friday. Friday came, and once again, I went on camera and I said, the progressives haven't changed. There's still 60 people to kill the roads and bridges when there's only a margin of victory of 3. You got 60 to 100 plus going to vote it down. I don't see how they're going to pass the roads and bridges. And it's not called for a vote. 1, 2 victories for the recon, and the progressives blocking the vote on a Thursday, blocking the vote on a Friday. Suddenly the president calls the progressives and the moderates, first doing the House and then the Senate in separate meetings. He has a meeting, and what does he do in those closed behind door meetings say? He first says, 1, I looked at the situation, and by all accounts, the roads and bridges was not going to pass. Success story number 1. And that, as a result, I'm not allowing Pelosi to go forward. I don't care what agreement Pelosi made with the moderate Democrats to have a vote on the roads and bridges. I'm stepping in and saying no vote on the roads and bridges until you agree upon the recon. Otherwise, we're not calling the vote on the roads and bridges. What a big victory for progressives and your recon. Second, he said the progressives will be looking forward to getting the moderate Democrats on board for the recon. Now let's go over the quotes that the president said during that meeting, the reaction to the quotes, and then my reaction to the quotes. The president told the members in meeting, that it doesn't matter whether it's 6 minutes, 6 days, or 6 weeks, we're going to get it done. Then he says, I wrote the damn bill. Even a small bill can make historic investments in childcare, daycare, clean energy. Got a whole hell of a lot of things done. We can be consequential and build upon the current relief, not pull back from it. I know a little bit about legislative process. I don't recall before on fundamental issues that we don't have to make compromises. He said that the progressives will continue to block the infrastructure and it's not going to pass, and he's not going to call for a vote unless the moderate Democrats agree to do the recon. Then he said that the progressives are awaiting the moderates to come on board for the recon. This was the reaction that night. Representative Richard Kular, who's a Democrat from Texas, said, the president was trying to get both sides to understand the reality is, but now I think he got both sides a little bit upset. I do appreciate the efforts that both sides put together, but apparently it did not work. Adam Green, founder of the Progressive Change, said progressives were Biden's best friend this week for keeping the ceiling high on the recon. The standard is going to be less about a dollar amount and more about the key priorities and keeping them off the ground. Meantime, Bernie Sanders, a former pollster, a Democratic pollster, Ben Tolchin, said that Biden didn't approach the meeting correctly and that Obama would have played a bigger, heavy hand on it, that Biden was a little too soft on the situation. He said, I was hoping that Biden would learn from the lessons of Obama, which is you have to fight for the thing. You can't just negotiate with Kristen Sinema. You have to go to war. That's what it is. You go back to Arizona and you speak, Kristen Sinema's from Arizona, by the way, and you speak directly to the residents of Kristen Sinema's district. And you say, you all support this, and tell Senator Sinema to support it as well. Wow. So what is my reaction to the situation? Number one, great news that the president went back to his original promise to us, which is 2 bodies of legislation must be voted on the same time. I'm not doing one, I'm doing 2 together. Vote at the same time. You must put them on my desk in the Oval Office at the same time. I will only sign 1. I will only sign 2. I will not sign one without the other. That was his big promise to us. Also, the voting process, that they would be both voted on at the same time. I like that he really did step in and say, you know what, moderate Democrats, you took advantage of Nancy Pelosi. You really took advantage of her. You understood that I said both together, recon and roads and bridges, and you tried to do just the roads and bridges and sort of trick Nancy Pelosi. So you know what? I'm telling her not to call your vote on your roads and bridges because you're trying to just do only roads and bridges. That was specifically what I told you we're not doing. We're doing both of them. Now, what did he also say during that meeting? What he also said during that meeting is that we have to have an agreement on the recon. Now, here's my thought on the process. Number one, I would have liked to have seen him say, stop the name calling. The moderate Democrats really should not have been trash talking the progressives. They're the same party, the same political party all week long. The trash talking was very, very bad. He should have said something about it. Number two, he really should have stepped in and said, listen, and I agree with Tolchin. He should have said, listen, you moderates have to absolutely come on board with the progressives. And I think he was a little bit too soft on it. I think he's going to realize early this weekend or early next week that he has done too much wine and dine with the moderates on the subject matter over the last few weeks. It's time to go in a little bit heavy-handed on it. Third, it's important to understand, and this is where I'm going to slow it down because this is a little bit complicated. When I say a $3.5 trillion recon, remember, number one, the monthly IRS stimulus checks is not part of the $3.5 trillion price tag. It's an add-on. Number two, the 3.5 number is not like I'm sending you $1, it's costing the government $1. It's not like that. And the president's tried to explain it. He hasn't been clear on messaging, so I'm going to explain what he means. For the government to send you $1, it's not taking the dollar out of the government's wallet. It's taking the dollar out of a billionaire's wallet because they're changing the tax code so that a billionaire or a billionaire's corporation that wasn't paying any taxes pays that money to the government. So the money that's going to you is not coming from the government. It's coming from someone else on their taxes and then coming over to you. So it's not like when he says 3.5, it's not like it's costing the government 3.5 trillion. So when he says modify things, it doesn't mean he is reducing amounts. That's the first thing. Number two, a lot of these programs that are in this recon actually all the programs that are in this recon were the result of negotiations by Bernie Sanders, your Democratic leader for the Budget Committee, chairman. He went into those negotiations in July to negotiate and finalize a vote on the recon procedural of 3.5 trillion. He went into the negotiations asking for 7 trillion. He agreed to 3.5 trillion. How? By getting the exact same amount as 7 trillion. But how could he get the same amount at 7 trillion at 3.5 trillion? Doing it less years. So for example, here's an example. 15% for the purchase of a new electric bike. Instead of doing it for 10 years, they do it for 5 years. Instead of doing it for 20 years, They do it for 8 years. It's still the same amount of money to you. It just doesn't go on for 2 decades or 3 decades. It goes on for 1 decade or half a decade. That's how the money is still the same for you. I know 100% that someone's going to hear and think, oh, are my IRS stimulus checks going to get reduced? No, because that's not what the president's talking about. He's talking about keeping the same programs, keeping the same items, just doing the duration into the future differently. And I'm not talking about 6-month durations. I'm talking about things that go 10 years, 20 years. A lot of the things that are covered in this video are in these clusters, 1, 2, and 3, are 10, 20-year programs, grants for the home, grants for weatherizer. Some of these things are going out many, 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 many years. They can bring them in half the number of years, and suddenly the price tag shrinks dramatically, and yet you still get the same benefit of the check this year, same benefit of the check next year. It's just you're not going to get the same benefit of the check maybe 10 years from now or 20 years from now. That is what Bernie Sanders explained in July, and that's basically what the president's doing as well. And with that, we got a lot coming up. And now we're going to go into those monthly IRS stimulus checks starting right now. The great news is that last weekend, a $3.5 trillion budget bill passed the House of Representatives. And going into that meeting, 1,000 viewers of this channel were told that an IRS stimulus check is going in there. Since that meeting, they've been told the same thing as well. This is great. This week alone, Sanders' office told viewers of this channel again, an IRS stimulus check is going in there, monthly stimulus check. Then Chuck Schumer, leader of the Senate, told Donnie's wife, you're going to see Donnie again in a second on this video, told Donnie's wife he's inserting a stimulus check provision. This was even as the vote of the roads and bridges was going on. Schumer's office confirmed this to Donnie's wife. AOC, Jalapal, and Omar's office confirming the same as well. No change whatsoever about these by these legislators, but let's go over what they've said up to this point. It started 8 weeks ago when I said pick up the phone and advocate for the inclusion of a monthly stimulus check, and viewers did. WR heard my message and picked up the phone and called. Senator Chris Coons, Democrat, Delaware, Joe Biden's oldest confidant, advocate for the inclusion of a monthly stimulus check, and Senator Chris Coons' office said yes, monthly stimulus check is going in there. About 3 weeks ago, this channel really picked up. You saw the changes. A lot of exclusives, a lot of breaking news on the hour. And at the time I delivered the exclusive that I believe that the House would write the legislation. They did. That the House would vote first on the legislation. They are. The Senate would vote last. And that Bernie Sanders is a critical ingredient as the guy who got the $3.5 trillion recon price tag and got the recon procedural passed on the Senate side. At that time, 3 weeks ago, Bernie Sanders told press, unlike prior budget chairmen, I like to get out amongst the people when I'm doing a recon. I said, if you listen to those key words, he's trying to say, I want to hear from you. I want you to advocate to me what you want in there. I said, pick up the phone and call, and Brother Joshua did, Lynn Glenn did, and Margaret did. And each of them in advocating for the inclusion of a stimulus check to Bernie Sanders' office was told it's going in there. What does advocating for something look like? Let me show you some screen grabs from viewers' comments on the live chats of this channel and also in private message to me as well on social media. Here is a message written by Margaret. Honestly, the woman on the phone and I started crying when I told her everything I'd been going through. And then another viewer wrote that she had lost her husband during the pandemic, had 10 surgeries, and that she was on SSI and SSDI, and that's not enough. And she needs that monthly stimulus check. That's the face of advocacy. And that's what Brother Joshua did. He's a 2020 volunteer to the community page, has gotten viewers fortunes of money for rent and utilities. He picked up the phone and called Sanders' office, advocating for himself, his church, his family, and you. And Sanders' office said yes. There will be a monthly stimulus check in there, $1,000 or $1,400, 3 to 6 months. And there you go. But Sanders' office also said something else. He needs to hear from you because he needs to know you have his support. And then the floodgates opened on this channel. Viewer after viewer started picking up the phone and advocating it to Sanders' office. And let's look at some of those screen grabs because they are incredible. Viewers after viewers picking up the phone and calling Bernie Sanders' office and saying, we need it, I need it. Let's start with Donnie, who wrote this after his phone call to Sanders' office. Donnie writes, I called Bernie Sanders and the secretary said they're doing a forced stimulus check and that's what I need. I need it for my city. I need it to progress. I need it for my water bill. I need it for everything. And Sanders' secretary said, okay, they're doing a forced stimulus check. Hurricane Tina calling Sanders' office, and she writes, I called Bernie's office, and they said they're putting a forced stimulus check in there. Viewer after viewer kept on delivering the same message, day in, hourly. Here is what Carolyn wrote. I called Sanders' office. People losing their homes. And what they got. She agreed. Bernie's putting a stimmy check in there, they said. And Yaya called Ron Wyden's office, and she writes, he wants the SS-200 to go in there as promised. Then quickly we learned that advocacy shouldn't be one phone call. It should be as many as you can make. That's what Will did. He picked up the phone and writes, I called Bernie. I called Warren, and I called Schumer's office, and all three of their secretaries confirmed an inclusion of a monthly stimulus check. As to Warren, he says the staffers said Senator Warren will be putting $1,400 or $2,000 in there 6 to 12 months. Lorica writing, I called Bob Casey's office, and they said yes, they're in negotiations for inclusion of a monthly stimulus check. At that point, 1,000 viewers of this channel had been confirmed by members of the Senate. Coons, Sanders, Warren, Schumer, Casey, Wyden, that the inclusion of a monthly stimulus check provision is being added in there. But I said, pick up the phone, call over to the House side. AOC, Omar, Jalapal, and Pelosi. And that is what Paul did. And he writes, AOC staffer said that they will be adding it to the bill. Then Janice writing, I called Jalapal's office. They did say they're putting a forced stimulus check in there. The messages kept on coming in like Mark. Yeah, $51,000 Mark. I spoke to Pelosi's office. The staff told me at Pelosi's office that there would be a fourth check in the amount of $2,000 the first month, $1,000 thereafter for 6 months, and they're almost finished negotiating. The comments kept on coming in by the hour, on the hour. Paul again. I called Omar's office. She wants it to be $2,000 the first month, $1,000 thereafter. Lynn Glenn writing the following. I called Jalapal's office. Secretary said, yes, they're giving us monthly stimulus checks. I called, here's what Ida wrote. Just got off the phone with Omar's office. They're putting it in there. $2,000 the first month, $1,000 thereafter. And there you go. The consistent message is all the same. A week ago today, when Pelosi passed that $3.5 trillion recon, she said it's not a bill. It's sort of like a work in progress. I call it like an envelope. It says bill on it, and if you want to add stuff in there, as Pelosi said, you can. Last weekend, all this week, Pelosi and the president saying, what you want to add in there, you can add it in there. And that's, in fact, what Pelosi's office said. In fact, all the Democratic members that told the 1,000-plus viewers they're adding in there, it's all forward tense, future tense, will be adding in. This is what advocacy looks like. And advocacy lives here. More about this in a second. Let's take a detour over to third stimulus now, because this money is ramping up. Get that pen, paper, and cell phone ready, because I'm going to want to get you big sums of money. The viewers of this channel are now getting 200% more money for rent than they got before. They're getting 300% more money for utilities, and now 400% more money for SNAP than ever before. And they're getting refrigerators? Yeah, they are getting refrigerators as well. Let's go over all their details starting right now. Let's look at the money for rent and how quickly and fast it has grown. It was a month ago that the members of this channel for rent were getting this. This graphic, this one. There we go. They were getting 20 to 27,000. Now viewers are getting upwards of 40,000, like Jen. Remember $51,000 Mark? Here he is. Well, he got $6,000 for utilities. His brother-in-law got nearly 3 times that amount, $15,000. Then when we talk about SNAP, Mark's brother-in-law got $21,000, a 300% increase from just a month ago. Get that pen, paper, cell phone ready. I'm going to show you how to get this big sum of money right now. I'm going to show you 6 places to reach out to. Reach out to all 6. They have different eligibility. They have different pots of money. Number 2, listen to the keywords I say in this video. Number 3, lean on the nonprofits. I'm going to show you those as well. And remember, if one says no, reach out to the next. All right, here are the 6 places you reach out to. Your city hall, your city house authority. Your county hall, your county house authority. Your state hall, and your state house authority. And the keywords you can say are rent assistance because of COVID. Mortgage or utility assistance because of COVID. Let's go over those 6 places again. City hall, city house authority. County hall, county house authority. State hall, state house authority. Now, if you're a member, which I hope you are, daily the newsletter delivered to you has in there the Treasury statement about the $13 billion for rent. I want you to read that before you make the phone call, because whether it's red, blue, poor, rich state, they all will be getting the money, but maybe they don't have it just yet. Ask them about it so you know what it is. Ask to be on a waiting list and ask to call back the next day if it hasn't landed. Next, utilities. Reach out to all your utility companies. If you have 5, reach out to all 5. Finally, the nonprofits. Wow. The nonprofits pay for all the same monies that third stimulus has, but with different eligibility. So if you have an eligibility issue, lean on the nonprofits. Here are the 5 nonprofits: United Way, Community Action, Salvation Army, Catholic Charities, St. Vincent de Paul. The great thing about the nonprofits is they pay for other items that are not in the third stimulus. Like, for example, sometimes they pay for homeless people into shelters, clothing for people in need, small appliances around the home. Yes, one viewer got a refrigerator. Actually, 2 viewers got refrigerators. One viewer got a furnace and her window fixed. Finally, it's important to understand that the nonprofits are not getting a lot of calls right now because it's not yet that cold outside. So make those phone calls right now. Here again are the 5 nonprofits: United Way, United Way, Salvation Army, Community Action, Catholic Charities, St. Vincent de Paul. Next snap, it's October, and guess what? Everyone's benefits are going up a lifetime, automatically, an average of 25% a lifetime. This is huge. And I know your benefits may have stepped down since mid to late September. That was because the rule from January to September is over. You got a letter for that one. There's another step up, and it's this one, and it's lifetime. And you'll be getting a second letter for this one as well. Reach out to Department of Agriculture to get this money. It's money for food. And then 2 items back for unemployment benefits: your state and the IRS. First, the state is returning back the money to you due to overpayment and computer error. Average payment is $2,000 to $5,000. Reach out to your state for this money. And then the refund check from IRS for the 2020 tax return you paid unemployment benefits, that you paid taxes on the unemployment benefits. Average payment is about $1,200 to $2,000. Margaret got it, Cod got it, Michael got it. If you got any of these sums of money, including rent or SNAP like Lynn, Glenn, and Gail, post your success stories in the live chat. You inspire other people. Meantime, if you haven't become a member, what are you doing? The link is under the video. Members are delivered daily, Monday through Friday, from me, the newsletter written by me that details all the big money available under first, second, and third stimulus for you to get, and what's proposed, of course, under fourth and fifth stimulus. That's how Johnny got $80,000, Mark $50,000, Johnny's 2 friends, family members, $100,000, Mark's neighbors and brothers-in-law, $100,000, Lorraine, she got $105,000, she's heading to $110,000, she got more money, and Jen, $40,000 approximately for rent just the last 7 days. The big money available on the first, second, third stimulus is detailed in that newsletter that comes out to you Monday through Friday, about 7 p.m. from the YouTube and Lalate alerts systems. Finally, make yourself a promise. 2 promises. 1, try to get rent and utilities as far into the future as you can. Once you get into 2022, if you can. If you got it from one place, get it from another place if you don't think they have any more money. Number 2, lean on the nonprofits. Again, it's early fall. It's not that cold outside. They're not getting the swarm of calls yet that they're going to get. As soon as it gets cold, people need money for heating oil and things like that. They're doing quick turnaround times now. So lean on them now. Get as much money as you can, as quickly as you can in these early months of October. And with that, we cut back to the final big recap of what's come up next today and this weekend and early next week. Number 1, the Progressives, us, and the Recon had 3 major wins this week. Number 1, the roads and bridges slated for a vote on Thursday, not called for a vote, blocked by the Progressives. Slated for a vote on Friday, not called for a vote, blocked by the Progressives. And then slated for a vote thereafter, blocked by the president himself, saying the roads and bridges will not go for a vote. The Recon got another big event this week as the president reassured his previous promise that the roads and bridges and Recon must be passed together, that they are dependent on one another. He will not sign one without the other. They have to be both agreed upon with the other. Number 2, the president leaning upon both sides to get it done, and to get it done properly. In the last 24 hours, a lot of people have asked me about seats for stimulus. We are bringing back seats for stimulus. I'm bringing back seats for stimulus this coming next week. It's a little bit different this time because guess what? 6 House member seats are up for grabs, and you remember the numbers. 3 House seats can change the dynamic of the House. But we're not this time doing Republican versus Democrat. This time we're doing progressive versus moderates. And this is a big one. As the progressives will protect your Recon, we're also going to bring back advocacy next week because guess what? Battles are ensuing. And as battles ensue, we have to ensure that people hear your voice. Never keep your voice silent. A lot of dramatics. Meantime, I really do think, as my personal opinion, the president will have to change his messaging on how to get over the finish line. I think, as that one person who the pollster for Bernie Sanders said, that the president has been a little bit too soft on the moderate Democrats. He's been a little bit too much wine and dine and needs to go in a little bit tougher on the moderate Democrats. The problem's not the progressives. Progressives haven't done anything wrong. They haven't done anything incorrect. As the president says, this is what the president wanted in there. President put it in there, and the progressives protected it. As the president told the progressives to protect his recon, they protected it. That's exactly what the president wanted, and they protected it. So the progressives haven't done anything wrong. It's the moderate Democrats who have done everything wrong here. And they're the people the president needs to lean on more than he's leaning on. We're expected a major change of the news cycle on the hour, throughout the hour this weekend. And then certainly Monday and Tuesday, we're going to see a lot more. You're going to see a lot of the details that happen on Friday start to filter out. For example, we really still don't know a lot about what happened in that Bryan, D.C. meeting with Bernie and Kristen Sinema right before the roads and bridges vote was supposed to happen. A lot of sort of details of what happened in those final hours is still coming out, and I'm going to have it for you all weekend long. Coming up next is Noontime LA at 11 a.m. It's a new show. I'll be live on air. And then Afternoons LA at 3 o'clock, a brand new show, the 1 o'clock show as well. And then Evenings LA news today as well. So stay with me throughout the day. A lot of breaking news across the board. And with that, subscribe. 400,000 subscribers for YouTube record. I want you part of this incredible family. Hit that subscribe button right now. Like the video, 3,000 likes, and consider becoming a member because the toast is toasting, the butter is buttering, and the coffee is brewing. And the progressives get 1, 2, 3 wins in 1 week. It's a big, bold, beautiful morning. I'll see you next at noontime as LA continues.